All right, y'all, I'm going to introduce Ashley and Craig. The workshop is on Discover, Define, Lead, and Apply Adoptable Options for Implementing Strengths. Ashley is a master's student in the Higher Ed Admin program at KU. Ashley currently works at the University Career Center as a grad assistant career coach under Wendy Shoemaker. Wendy pulled me aside and said, please tell everybody she's looking for a job. This is a great networking opportunity for her. Her background is in student services, and she has a strong interest in career services, strengths quest, leadership, and student development. And then Craig is a PhD student in counseling psych. Oh, I didn't even make that. At KU. Craig is currently employed at the UCC under the guidance also of Wendy Shoemaker and Chance Clutter. And he possesses research interest in the intersection of vocation, performance, and sexuality. That's the conversation starter. Right? So maybe we'll hear more about that.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Kruger.
And I'm Craig.
And we are from the University Career Center at the University of Kansas. Thank you all for coming to this session. Today we are going to be talking about how to apply adaptable options for implementing strengths quest, not only in individual student appointments, but also group workshops. And here's our agenda today. We're going to be talking about 4 things. And the first one I'm going to touch on a little bit right now, Gallup Curriculum to UCC material. The University Career Center uses several different materials to incorporate Strengths Quest into career coaching appointments as well as group workshops. We use the Strengths Quest PowerPoint. Much of the slides on today's presentation are actually included in the presentation that we give to group workshops. We also have a Strengths Quest handout. This is an actual document that students can take away, and the student team uses to record the answers to different activities that we do with them through the individual appointments as well as the group workshops. And several of those activities we'll be actually going through today, so you know how to actually utilize those with your own students. And then Craig and I actually worked on to revise and applying your talents to career, academic, and student life, and talking to students about how to develop actual action plan items, career-oriented action items, to develop their own customized action plan. And so we'll be talking a little bit about that today and how you can use that document to include that in your individual student appointments. And lastly, Craig and I actually worked a lot on developing a presentation options document for UCC staff. And what this is, it's an actual Word document that has a list of all these activities that UCC staff can use and adapt to whichever type of workshop they're doing, whether it be a 50-minute workshop versus an hour and a half, a small group of students, a big group of students. It's all in one document. And so if you are interested in any of these documents as we're going through these activities, as we're going through some of these handouts, we have an email sign-up list right here. Many of these handouts are actual physical handouts or PowerPoints or things like that. And so if you are interested in them, we would be more than happy to share them with you electronically, so you can go ahead and sign these up, or sign your name up right there. But like I said before, these are adapted from Gallup Curriculum, and several of the presentation materials that we use with students are adapted directly from Gallup and the curriculum and activities that they have on their website. One in particular is the scavenger hunt activity, and we will be going through that today about how you can incorporate that into group presentations.
And some of the other things we'll kind of touch on a little bit today is kind of the approach of the strengths quest for those of y'all that aren't quite familiar with it. And then kind of the benefits of using that is a career or vocational assessment and using that for that purpose. And then also, one of the big benefits of using Gallup Strength Finder is in fact the report as it comes to it as it itself. It comes with a lot of very solid information that we try to utilize with students both on an individual level and a group level. And then as far as Ashley talked a little bit about some of the practical application options, but that great existential question is always going to be, how do we want to use our time? And kind of a derivative of that is, how do we want to use our knowledge? And so with this knowledge that we possess about vocational psychology, about career services, and about student development, how do we best want to utilize this assessment to kind of critique it and focus it on the clients or the students that we have in front of us?
Okay, but before we get started, we're going to go through an activity with you that we use with our own students. We call this the writing challenge activity, and we'd like you to take out a scrap piece of paper. You could even use the back of the sheet that I handed out to you before. And if you have a writing utensil, we would like you to start out by writing out your first name with your non-dominant hand, and do these 4 things. Print your first and last name, print in all caps, print in lowercase, and sign your name with your non-dominant hand. I see a lot of concentration going on.
And once you finish with the non-dominant hand, we ask you to switch over to your dominant hand and go through those exact 4 things again. First and last name, all capitalization, lowercase, and then finally that beautiful signature. Or maybe that not so beautiful signature. Depending on who holder. So, anybody have any thoughts or feelings on what it was like to pen with the non-dominant hand?
I thought about what it was like for my children when they were learning to write, I guess.
Yeah.
Slower, it takes more concentration.
I see some head notes. What are some of those words that go along with those head notes?
Uncomfortable, awkward.
Uncomfortable, awkward. How about on the flip side? What about with the dominant hand when you make that switch?
Quick, easy.
Quick, easy, comfortable. Those seem like more positive words. Those seem much more like it makes sense to work with that dominant hand. And so one of the things that, how that kind of transitions and how that leads off is why do we work? It is possible to kind of build up on that weakness. If you worked long enough and hard enough, I'm sure you could be ambidextrous with your hands as far as penning things. And some individuals do possess that natural talent. However, why would you invest that time into working on that talent instead of enhancing one of the other talents that you already possess? And that kind of goes with the strength-based approach. A lot of career services is derived off of vocational psychology, which is also derived from psychology itself. And psychology has done a very good job of pathologizing individuals. You're too anxious. You're too depressed. You probably have issues with your mother. And so we think about these things, and it's just like, that's what it is. Like, how do we fix those weaknesses? How do we fix these things? How do you learn how to write with your non-dominant hand? And again, we're not saying that weakness fixing does not hold a place in individuals' lives as well as within society. There are certain things to which we do need to do better. But a lot of times, especially in the world of vocation, why not invest that energy into building on your strengths, doing those things that are natural, doing those things that are comfortable, doing those things that are beneficial, rewarding, and enriching both to you and to your environment.
Okay, so when we're working with students, we really try to communicate to them the benefits of living out their strengths. Why should they care about this assessment that they just took? What are the benefits of talking about the things that they do naturally well and living those out every single day? So Gallup research, in addition to other research, has shown that individuals who live out their strengths live out great benefits, and 5 of them are just listed up here. Higher level of productivity and engagement, both in their academic life as well as their professional lives. They have an increased level of job satisfaction and, in turn, income because they are just more efficient, they're more productive, they are happier at their job. They have healthier bodies, more physical health, they experience less illness and stress. They are happier people in general. They have happier relationships with others, with their coworkers, and it's a really great feeling for them. But the last one is one that we really try to think about in career services, and that is having a greater sense of hope and a clearer vision of the future. And that is really something that we try to encourage students to think about and try to kind of communicate what their talent themes mean to them and how they can implement those talent themes to get a greater sense of hope, instill a greater sense of hope in them, as well as gain a clear vision of their career path and the future ahead of them. And so we do that in several different ways, and we'll be talking about that a little later on. But this formula right here, the strengths, language, and formula, this is the heart and soul of what strengths is. Talent times investment equals strength. And when we're working with students, whether it be in individual appointments or in group workshops, we really try to ask them, thinking about their past experiences. Before we even get into the defining their strengths mode, talking about their talent themes, we want to start to get them to thinking about their past experiences. So we often ask students, are you a person who really likes to collect facts? Or you really want to collect knowledge, you're always trying to learn more things? You may be an input talent theme. Or did your parents tell you that you were a really good storyteller? Or you like to communicate with others? You were good at public speaking? You may be a communication. So getting students to think about that right away before we even go into the definition stage is a really great way to have them connect their talents back to their own lives and see where in the past they have seen this happen and how it makes sense now. It's because they do these things naturally well, and it's not just a rare phenomenon for them. But we also really try to communicate to the students the importance of investing in their talent. And when we say investment, we mean right there, time spent practicing their talent themes, investing in those skills, and building the knowledge base. What can they do to invest in that? And that's where a lot of times career coaching comes in, providing them with the resources that they can use to invest in those talent themes a little bit more. But really, you do have to invest in your talent theme and put in the time and effort to have a talent theme become a true strength. And that's what we try to communicate with students, especially in individual appointments and group workshops.
And one of the big tools in trying to communicate that with students is the actual document that's produced by Gallup for after the student or after the client takes the strength split assessment. And for those of y'all that haven't used it before, essentially what Gallup did was polled lots and lots of people on all 6 of the populated continents, and they analyzed what do we do well as a species, what do we do well as human beings. And they found 34 distinct talent themes through that. And so, distinct being the key word there. And so one of the things is when we're working with students, especially on an individual level, is, pretty astounding numbers. One, there's 278,000 unique combinations. Even on a planet with 6 billion people, that makes you pretty unique. Celebrate that uniqueness. Celebrate what makes you you. And these are things about you that have either been natural and innate or things that you have developed over the course of your existence, whether it's something from preschool, things that you've done naturally, or things that you've learned more recently and been able to rapidly improve with. And so with this assessment, typically, when we meet individuals on individual sessions, the first thing we don't do is the assessment. First thing we don't do is an interpretation. It's about getting to kind of hear that student's personal narrative. What things are they struggling with? What things are they searching for? What are their goals? What are they after in their interactions with us? And a lot of times strength can be an appealing perspective. What are things that you already do right, and how do you want to transition them towards ways that are beneficial for you and for whatever organization you're with? And as far as with groups, we really think about those typically are more of a one-shot thing, but we also try and think about you're a unique member within this unit. What skills do you bring? What strengths do you bring that can help produce as a group, help you contribute to the group?
So how do we use this report? The Strengths Plus report is fantastic tool that we use with students. Whenever a student takes the Strengths Quest assessment, they can pull up an insight report, what's called a Strengths Quest insight report. And that pulls up their top 5 talent themes, and with each talent theme, you have a paragraph description of that talent theme. But today, we are going to actually have you look through some of your own talent themes. So, you should have received a handout, everyone, as they were coming in, and if you haven't, there's some right here. What I'd like you to do is take 30 seconds or so and go through the talent themes and underline or highlight some phrases that really appeal to you, that best fit you. And if you haven't yet taken the Strengths Quest, go ahead and still look through those 34 talent themes and see if any of those talent themes really fit you. See if any of those phrases speak to you and say, yeah, that's Craig, or yeah, that's Ashley. It really appeals to me. Oh, we'll be talking about
Will you tell them later? Okay. I'm trying to figure them out one.
I see you. I do that all the time.
What's it taken to start thinking about it?
Becomes an equal conceptual.
So when we work one-on-one with students, as well as when we give group presentations, we have them do the exact same thing that you're doing now. Except we have them bring their own Strengths Quest insight report, so they have a larger paragraph to work with, larger phrases and words and descriptors to work with. But we have them do the exact same thing. We have them start to think about and define their own strengths and what those mean to them. And we have a handout that, like I said before, we use this handout to have students record those themes, and this is what it looks like on our handout. It's the Define Your Strengths section, and we have students read through their insight report and actually write down their top 5 themes. That already gets them started thinking about how to remember them, what those words mean, but also briefly describing each theme in 3 to 5 words. So it's quick and simple, concise. Have them talk about what that theme means to them, how they see it in their own life, and start to get them to define that theme in their own life. But then after we get them to briefly describe each theme and start talking about it, we have them either discuss in partners, or if it's an individual appointment, we have them discuss with us because we're the only one they got. And we have 3 questions that we pose to them. So, which of your top 5 themes describe you best and why? When have you seen these strengths in action? And which of your top 5 themes do you anticipate using most in college? And I really like that last one because that can get them thinking about not only can it help them career-wise and their professional lives, but how can this help them academically? How can they pull this into how they work with others, how they function in a student organization, all sorts of different areas that a student can apply Strengths Quest.
And so one of the other activities that we do typically in groups, scavenger hunts are kind of hard to do when it's 2 people, is to find individuals with at least 2 to 3 individuals with at least one thing different than them. Given the odds of being 1 in 278,000, that you'd have the exact same, even in a classroom with 6 to 10 people, you can typically find somebody with different things than yourself. And so after having previously done it and written it down, we're trying to reinforce it with this. Not only does by talking to somebody with a different thing, do they get to kind of have that openness and feel that appreciation for a talent theme that is something unique or something unique to that individual, but also this forces them to speak about that talent theme that they're choosing about, trying to vocalize this thing instead of penning it to paper. Now they're trying to vocalize it and share how they utilize this theme, how they utilize this talent within whatever setting they're choosing to another human being. And so again, trying to just kind of reinforce the fact that this is a theme that you possess, this is something that you utilize, and this is something that you share with the world. And so one of those things to kind of further reinforce this is to write the name of that individual. Think about whatever that talent theme was that was unique or something that you were impressed by. What's the harmony look like? What's the context look like? And then how do they utilize those things? And then again, some of these other questions that we ask them to do kind of individually, and then we try and break them up and try and foment discussion. So what type of themes did you gain a greater appreciation for as a result of talking to your classmates? Were some of those students themes that you could benefit and you could work with them? We'll go into a little bit about domains and leadership, but essentially we are a very collaborative species. And so a lot of the things that we're talking about is we have these things, but how do you want to share them with the world? How do you want to share them with your community? How do you want to share them with your student organization, with your Greek sorority or fraternity, with your athletic team, your intramural team? All these different, your honor societies, all these different environments. How do you want to share these talents?
Exactly. So there's also another way that you can do the scavenger hunt. We call it the alternative scavenger hunt. And instead of having students look for other students with the same, with different talent themes, we actually have them look for other students with the same top or second top talent theme. And we have them get into discussion groups and discuss how they can further utilize that theme in other ways. Sometimes students may be in this box and they think, okay, I can utilize this theme this way, and this is how it affects my life. But this activity is really great to get students to think about how they can further utilize that same talent theme in different ways, and how other people with that same talent theme use it and possibly contribute to other teams as well. And this large group discussion is really great for talking about new ways to enhance top theme and invest in talent. And individuals with no similar themes, because that sometimes happens, they are still encouraged to get into their own group, and they are congratulated on their their uniqueness, and are encouraged to still discuss the same discussion questions that we had on the previous scavenger hunt. Talk about where they have seen their talent themes, how they can benefit from other talent themes, where they can apply them in their own lives.
So one of the other things GALS looks at is what makes a successful team. Does anybody here work with students like in groups, whether it is as a teacher, as a staff mentor, as a student organization? So what are some of the successful strategies that y'all have found for trying to get a group to kind of cohesively come together and produce whatever the task might be? Any thoughts?
Team building activities.
Team building.
Trust falls.
No. I've not made anyone do a trust fall yet. Maybe one time.
So a lot of it really, what GALS would assume is that out of all of these individuals and what their research shows on those 6 populated planets, these are some typical, there's 4 kind of domains for how to show leadership. Leadership kind of takes many forms. 4 domains: strategic thinking, relationship building, influencing, and executing. And again, one of the things that we really work on with students as far as individually and even in groups is that if you don't have a talent theme in each one of those boxes, that is perfectly okay. Lots of individuals have clusters, and this helps with as far as even branding yourself. If you notice you have 4 or 5 in relationship building, brand yourself as a relationship builder. Mine's Craig. I help build relationships, whether you apply that in a business setting or an education setting or a student organization. I mean, but one of the big things that comes into is when you're looking for finding leadership trees or committees or student representatives, what kind of qualities are you trying to pull out for those individuals in order to make a successful team, in order to make a successful group? There we go. And so, one of those things that we definitely do as far as when working with students is, in their 4 domains with leadership, we again have them pull out their pen or their pencil, circle their top 5 themes, and then see how those things fall out. Where do they have those strengths? Do they have clusters? Are they evenly balanced? How adaptable are they? What ones do they think they use better than others? And then again, how do they want to apply them in groups in which they're currently in? A lot of our students that we would see as far as those groups are involved in some kind of organization, some kind of team, some kind of honor society. And so one of those things is, how do you want to utilize this talent there? In this type of role, how can you help build a relationship? How can you help influence leadership? How can you help execute a project? And it really comes on to building these strengths and then applying them to other individuals and applying them to your environment.
And you can also really encourage students to think about how their leadership strengths can affect them in their professional life. Maybe they have already had an internship experience or a part-time job experience. How have they seen that leadership strength come through, and how can they promote that and continue that strength through their post-college work lives as well? Okay, so another activity that we do with students is called the thumbprint statement. And so what is a thumbprint statement? It's a brief description that really synthesizes a student's 5 themes in one phrase. And it's really, really great. As you can see, we have an example up there. We have them think about their 5 top talent themes and develop one simple, short, concise statement based on those talent themes. And we really encourage students to use the same language and wording that they use to define their strengths at the beginning of the workshop, the beginning of the handout, the appointment, whatsoever. And because then that talent theme, or excuse me, that thumbprint statement is really unique to them. It's something that they built from their own language that they can really personalize themselves. And it's unique. That's why it's called a thumbprint statement. And we try to encourage students to think about how they can use this in a practical sense. We encourage students to use it in a cover letter, in an interview, in an elevator speech. That's fantastic, elevator speeches. It's a short and simple way that students can describe themselves, describe things that they're naturally good at to an employer or to a friend, to wherever they want to bring out that thumbprint statement. And here are Craig and I's thumbprints. And so these are our talent themes. My talent themes are empathy, achiever, communication, includer, and harmony. And I developed my thumbprint statement here is empathetic and passionate about collaboration and engagement. And I use my thumbprint statement, I think, every day. I work one-on-one with students, and I'm getting my graduate degree in higher education administration, so I'm going to be bringing out that thumbprint statement. And I didn't even know about my strengths until I came to work at the University Career Center, but the Strengths Quest, as well as my thumbprint statement, really validated for me what my career choices were and told me that career services or student services is a good fit for me. And when I started to think about my strengths, I started to develop my own thumbprint statement. I started to look at my own position, my current work life, and think, where can I be empathetic? Where can I bring out my passion? How can I collaborate with students and engage them on campus? Is that something that I'm getting from my current position? And how can I even develop that even more?
And then my 5 will be the harmony, the context, learner, positivity, and arranger. And as of the time of this penning, my thumbprint statement was the desire to learn how to properly arrange this human experience to maximize the positive agreement in nature, humanity, and life. Nature, humanity, and life are kind of 3 values that I possess, or 3 things that I kind of hold dear. And so I work currently at the Counseling and Psychological Services on campus as a psychologist in training, and also at a local community mental health center on a dialectical behavior therapy team. And so a lot of times, like working individually with clients and even working with them in groups, it's individuals have these strengths. You have to look for them. Sometimes they are more than apparent. But it's how do we want to bring these out? How do they want to arrange them? How can our interactions or my interactions with them help them try and find that they have a life worth living, to help arrange them in order to enhance the positivity and enhance the meaning and finding meaning and existence in their own lives as well.
Okay. So we do actually encourage students to develop their own thumbprint statements. We do this in individual appointments as well as group workshops. And this is what it looks like on our handout. There is their own theme dynamics section. And we have students, there's plenty of writing space. They can write down different words that they want to use, different language. We have them really start to think about what their thumbprint statement is to them, how they can apply it in their own life. And we encourage students to do this because we want them to remember their talent themes. And this is a really great way for them, a simple statement that they can use to try to remember those talent themes and implement them in their daily lives.
Yeah, and so again, this can also serve as a jumping off theme. How else do they integrate it? When we're working with students, we try to not just see just their strengths, but also you want to form that holistic picture. What do their interests look like? What about personality traits? What about their majors? What about their personal narratives? What about their career ideas? How do all these come together to form a portrait of this individual? And so one of the things is, how is this reflected? And so that's one of those big questions to ask those students. How does this thumbprint statement, how do these 5 to 7, or in my case like 13 or 14 words, come together as far as your vocational interests, and how can we promote them? How can we enhance them? How can we tease those out?
Okay, so going into the application stage, we really try to communicate to students how important it is to apply their strengths, not only remember them, but actually apply them and try to implement them every day. And this is important, and so how do we get students to do this? A fun and incredibly free way to do this is the certificate maker at strengthsquest.com. This is a really great way for students to get active, and all you have to do is plug in your talent themes, and you can create your own little design, and you can print out a placard, or students can print out a placard that they can hang up in their dorm room, up on the wall, on a window, hang in their car, tape to their laptop, wherever they can see it, so they can see their talent themes every single day and try to be reminded of what those talent themes mean to them, and think, okay, today I can use Achiever. Or today I can use communication, and how am I going to do that? And so get them thinking, and that's just a visual reminder that they can do that. It's also a really great tool that if you are meeting students for subsequent individual appointments, and you go through a Strengths Quest assessment with them, you could say, assign as a homework piece, I would like you to do the certificate maker and show them how to do it on Strengths Quest. Like I said, it's free, and it's pretty fun for the student to do because they can customize it. So it's an excellent homework piece that you can assign a student as well. Okay, but in addition to the certificate maker, we really think at the University Career Center that action plans are incredibly important. When working with students and going over strengths, sometimes, well, some students may be overwhelmed with this entire process. So developing an action plan that is really customized to them is a really great way to develop baby steps and allow a student to think about how they can implement their strengths in tiny, achievable steps. It's similar to maybe the SMART goals, thinking of different steps that a student can achieve in a smart way, and it's not too overwhelming for them, but it's still getting them action-oriented and thinking about how they can go about and use this in their everyday lives. So we have an example up there. I mentioned before the Applying Your Talents document. Craig and I had done a lot of revisions on putting together this document. It's an 8-page document, which is why we didn't print it out for you, but we have an example up here. This is the Achiever Talent, and as you can see, there are 5 different career-oriented action items. And this is really great because when you're in an individual appointment or when you're in a group workshop with students, you can have them look at this handout and look at each of their talent themes and pick out, there's 25 of them if they have 5 talent themes, pick out and customize which action items they can actually apply to their life right now. What can you do out of there? What can you do tomorrow? What can you do next week, this semester, this year, in order to implement your talent themes every day? And that brings in that investment component. This is a way that you can invest in your talent theme and really bring that into your everyday life. And you can share everything, yes. So, we have a case study for you. Craig and I were thinking about this, about how we would get you to think about this Applying Your Talents. And like I said before, this Applying Your Talents to Career, Academic, and Student Life document, it is available electronically. Craig and I would be happy to share it with you. All you have to do is just sign up on that email list. But we have a case study for you, and Craig will be passing out a handout. We have Jonathan here. He is a second-year student. He's undecided, but he is in good academic standing. He came into your office and took the Strengths Quest career assessment, and his top 5 talent themes are analytical, communication, maximizer, positivity, and woo. And he came into your office because he wants to develop academic areas of interest. So go ahead and look at that sheet, and maybe we'll give you about 30 seconds to look it over. How, as career coaches, can we help him customize an action plan that really utilizes his strengths and allows him to get out there and implement his strengths every day? And feel free to talk to a partner if you want. I think it's 30 seconds. If you notice something really great on there.
Hey, can I ask you something while they're doing that? You've looked at many people's results, right, in your studies. Have you found anything on the leadership themes that it's typically where you're going to have, like, of your top 5, 3 in one and 2 in the other, rather than a nice mix between all of them? Don't you think a more common theme is it's usually scattered between 2? Or do you see a lot more than that?
Actually, I myself have 3 in the relationship building, so that actually has happened to me.
Well, I mean 3 leadership themes that your top 5 are scattered between of the 4 leadership things
Sure.
scattered in 3 of them rather, or do you
Oh,
find
rather than 2.
that most
Okay.
people are just in 2 or maybe even all in 1?
Yeah, we have seen that before, and it's really about talking to the students. So maybe you have some in strategic or influencing. Where have you seen that in your life, and where can you see that leadership strength or the influencing strength? How does that correlate to your professional goals? How can you see that coming into play into your career path? Do you see more of the influencing strength come out, or more of the relationship building strength, and talking to the student and generating ideas about how they can also use that leadership strength further, even more if they haven't quite seen that in their professional.
I've converted all of those to MBTI too, if you guys are interested in. Do you have a card or something I can?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so does anyone have some ideas on how we can develop an action plan for Jonathan?
Well, he's obviously an extrovert and would like a business field of some sort, public relations, being out in front of people. So he probably ought to try some of that, getting out there.
Definitely, just getting out there. We brainstormed some possible ideas, and that was one of them.
One of the things we talked about we could do is under this maximize. At the very first bullet point, I like that action step. Interview people who are currently among the best of the jobs that interest you. We thought that because since he is an extrovert, the positivity, the woo, all that, the communication, but also the analytical will allow that person to kind of analyze what they do day in and day out. So it's kind of putting a lot of the strengths to work. So that's a good action step.
Yeah.
And especially in a collaborative type, it's not alone, but, not putting himself out there alone, but groups, committees, groups, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. These are great ideas. Okay.
So one of the better things about this is with those 5 different things, they'll have 5 different action plan items. So that gives up to 25 different ideas for you to go over with that individual student to figure out which one they may be more open to, which one may be more personal to them, which one may be more just realistic that they'll go out and engage in doing so. And so one of the 3 of the things that Ashley and I found when we were kind of collaborating over this mythical Jonathan character, and we thought with the communication and the woo and very much being an extrovert, that this is something to take advantage of. So go to the career fairs where you can interact with a lot of different individuals. There you get that kind of that broad exposure. One of the things is if he's looking for an academic area of interest, what came first, the major or the career interest? And so a lot of individuals pick majors based on career paths that they choose, and a lot of people are like, well, I really like this major, what kind of career things can I do? So it is kind of that dual pathway for it. So this might be a good opportunity for him to say, I really like this person, met down, had an informational interview with them, and I followed up. I think this is an industry that I would like to explore. What type of skills do I need? Where can I get those as far as a major? And then also with that woo, just being very personal, being very, very collaborative, what we're talking about. But then also on the flip side, what about using that woo within academia and using that analytical? There may be a certain professor that just totally inspires Jonathan, lights him on fire, and he wants to study those things. And it's like, well, what kind of subjects do you use analytical skills in? Everything from the biologies and medicinals to, what about English? What about history? How do you tell a good poem from a bad poem? I mean, those little pieces can be very intrinsic, and they can also be very inspiring. And it's another way for him to utilize that strength of analytical and to try and find that academic area of interest.
And one thing I wanted to add, when you're looking at this sheet, and this is the fact for all of the talent themes, the last bullet point, the 5 bullet points are the last bullet point, for every single talent theme, we listed professionals that student can talk to if they have that particular talent theme. And so if you were an analytical, or if you did have a student with an analytical talent theme, encourage them to talk to professionals in accounting, finance, science, computer technology, and inform them on how to do informational interviewing with those professionals and getting them out there to talk and engage in that career development process and start to talking and connecting with and networking with professionals in those fields. That will allow the students to really use that talent theme that they need, that we love to have them implement, but also get them out there and engage and start to explore different careers out there, occupations and as well as majors, because they could also be talking to professors in those fields as well.
I think that's an excellent thing that you guys have these careers listed, because we work with strengths too at Johnson County Community College, and that's the question we always get. How does strengths connect to careers? I need to see a list of careers. So it's great that you have that at the bottom there where they can talk to people.
I mean, that's one of also kind of the big points of using the strengths plus assessment is, I mean, you can utilize these in a variety of different fields. You can utilize them in a lot of different majors, a lot of different occupations, which works well with how vocation in the world of work works today. Rarely do those individuals stay in the same job for 30 years anymore. So it seems like the need to be adaptable is becoming more and more relevant within our society and something to which we should promote and we try to promote to our students. But wherever you go, whatever environment you're in it, and you have those strengths, you have those talent things with you, and it's how do you want to invest them, how do you want to build on those talent things and turn them into true strengths.
In addition to all of the Gallup curriculum activities that the UCC utilizes, Gallup has a bunch more of activities that are career-oriented on their website. And they're fantastic activities that you can just go explore. They're ones that focus on how to use your strengths in job search, how to use them in an interview, how to use them on a resume. And we incorporate some of those things, but these are the main activities that we discussed today are the main ones that we use with students in group workshops. But Gallup Online definitely has a lot of great opportunities as well. Okay, so really we're gonna close with this quote that we really like. Success is achieved by developing our strengths, not by eliminating our weaknesses, by Marilyn Boss-Savant. And so really just remember that using the Strengths Quest Insight Report is fantastic, and helping the students to define what those talent things mean to them is really a great starting point. And that's how you can really get a student to start to think about how those strengths really apply to their own lives. And then that can, as career coaches, you can generate conversation and help them think about how they can use their talent themes going into their professional lives as well. So, any questions?
Can I throw something out? Not to be anything. We use Strengths Quest as well, but I'd like to say that I think it's a mistake they don't look at weaknesses as well. A lot of people are on this role, just look at what your strengths are. But when you buy into a career, you're buying into the environment that goes with that career, and lots of times you can find what your strength is, the right career, but put that into a wrong environment. So let's say, for example, a person's strength is in public relations, but they use those public relations in a high, intense area of conflict and confrontation, and they're more of a feeler type, personality type, and they are doing the right work but in the wrong environment, and then they start collapsing, doing customer service type stuff or something where people are coming at them all the time and they have to make a quick decision, even though all their strengths fit the position they're in. So I like that. Strengths Quest is a nice tool to use, but it needs to be used, I think, in addition with other things. Strengths is always a great place to focus. People don't like to look at their weakness. And I like that last comment, you don't get anywhere by eliminating your weaknesses, but I think you have to know what they are when you think about going into a career field.
And I think when you're discussing Strengths Quest, it's the student conversation, or the conversation you start to generate with the student is really, they're going to start talking about things that they think are weaknesses as well. Instead of maybe focusing on that they're weaknesses, talking about ways that they can develop those. And maybe some resources on campus, or opportunities that they can use to really develop maybe their public speaking skills or their leadership skills. What are ways that they can do that on campus? And having that conversation, because I've had students talk to me about that. They think, oh, I'm in communication, but I don't really like public speaking or something like that. I want to work on that. I feel like that is actually a weakness of mine. And talking to them about why they think that way, and kind of learning about their personal narrative that Craig talked about before, and having that discussion in addition to the Strengths Quest. I absolutely agree. So.
Strengths required for all your incoming freshmen, or how do you guys administer it?
It is not required. I don't believe it is required for all of our incoming freshmen, but this year recently we have started to require all the freshmen, or the first year students in our PRE 101, the first year seminar. I believe we've required them to start taking Strengths Quest and implement that as part of their curriculum.
Yeah, traditionally this has been used by the PRE 101 instructors, which is like our welcome to the university class, as a way to kind of give these individuals something that they can build off of. And Wendy Shoemaker, our Senior Associate Director at the University Career Center, has been really great working with Howard Graham, who directs those 101 classes. So all the materials that you see today that Ashley and I have been able to kind of put together after collaborating with a lot of our senior staff are implemented and discussed within that section of that 101 class that reaches over thousands of people, 2,000 individuals this month.
A lot.
It's kind of scary. I think we're having that influence.
Yeah.
For those of you who are using KACE Quest, how is it being paid for?
We originally, well, up until this year, we charged students for them. They bought a code in the bookstore and just paid for it that way. But this year, I had a little extra in my budget, so I just went ahead and paid for it for everybody.
It's usually in a career class, too, when people get those kind of assessments. I think it's covered in the fees, like you say, the book, and the book's only $14 or $15 and has the code. But that's what I wanted to ask you guys, is do you do that, or do you have, is it cheaper, do you, as the school, do you have a way that they can go online and test without doing the book?
Yeah,
And giving them all
you
the
use
book?
the online program. You buy the code. The school buys the codes and sells the codes, and they drop the price on the codes. They're like $8 or $9 now. And if you order like 12 or more at a time, you sometimes get a group discount. But then if you buy the book, if you have a buy the book, that's $30-some.
No, well, the books, you can get new books for $14 or $15, but you can get used books even for cheaper than that, so. Is that just like the book, though, the one you get online?
It's exactly the same.
And so you get the full printout, then you take the test, and then you can go in and read the book as well?
The printout comes with their access code, so they can use the access code from the book to take the assessment online, and then with that they develop a username and password, and then they can access all of their insight reports as well.
And that's how you guys are doing it here?
Yes.
The 101, that comes with kind of that class, the class fee, and so that's how they utilize those. And then different graduate students will go and lecture to those 101 classes and kind of provide like a group in math interpretation. But as far as the individual appointments go, students coming in, whether they're just curious or whether they think that StrengthsQuest might help provide a little section of that holistic piece in their career development, like that's definitely how we utilize it.
And for people in your field, do you collect those results and do long-term correlation tests on them or anything?
I wish. That is something to which we should kind of consider, but right now it's not. Our office does not engage in that practice. Shane Lopez, I don't know if y'all know him, Dr. Lopez, he was a member of the counseling psych faculty at KU, but now he works at Gallup. He's got that big book out on hope right now, and he has mentioned that there is a lot of data that Gallup possesses, not just from the areas, but from everything. So I would be curious if that is something that they keep track of. I'm sure there could be some lots of cool ones.
Good student project.
At JCCC, you asked about how we pay for the codes. When we first started it off, it came out as a career development center, cost center, so we pay for them. But as strength has grown on our campus, they're now being paid for our VP of the Learner Engagement Division. So we still pay for all the codes for students. They don't pay a thing. It's free for them.
And we buy in bulk, like up to 1,000 codes at one time, so that brings the price way
Down.
down.
The more codes we buy, the cheaper the price is meant for us. And that's kind of good for us.
So you must have to talk to somebody to do that, because I'm online right now, and it doesn't say there's any quantity discount unless you're buying the book.
We did talk to some people.
So different agents. Thank you all.
Great discussion. Are there any other questions?
I just want to make a comment from the employer side. There is a department at Harvester, the Nutrition Services Department, and they've used this for the last couple of years because they turn over almost their whole team once a year, because the majority of our educators are AmeriCorps members that serve for 1 year. So bringing them on and having them, I think if they haven't been exposed to it in their school, has really been very beneficial, and it's really done a lot of great things for the department on the employer side. And then I like to think that they take that onto their next place, wherever they go.
Absolutely. I was in student orientation this past summer, and we use Strengths Quest to really show our students that we are making a professional development investment in them. We wanted them to take Strengths Quest and really realize this is what you're naturally good at, here's how you can apply it to orientation, but this is also how you can apply it in your real world lives as well. And we try to do that professional development aspect too. Piggyback off that.
Actually, for employers and for career services professionals, they do call to coach webinars too. They'll usually, if you're on their web serve, you can get some of that, and you'll get people from private sectors or from universities, and that's really nice too for that training piece. And I know this year all of the PRE 101 instructors were trained through our office, so that's more people on campus that aren't even in career services that are trained to do these types of activities that Ashley and Craig helped set up. So that's really cool too for just kind of getting the word out and getting more people on campus to help. So.
And if you wanted further maybe research or knowledge about what other universities are doing, Gallup has also collected kind of stories from different types of universities, from different areas of the country as well, and really wrote down their story and listed that on their website as well, how they went to implement strengths on their campus, how they use them, what types of departments they use them in. So that may be of interest to some of you if you were looking into that as well.
Hey, can I ask you, you mentioned this a little bit on, some people use it to find out, well, what degrees are the best degrees for my top 5, or what careers. You know, statistics say it's about 50-50. Half the students want to know what's a good match with their for their major. The other half want to know what's a good career, and then they want to know what degrees will get them to the career. Well, what have you found that any kind of a correlation there? For Strengths Quest, what do you think helps more, to help them discover the major or to help them discover the career? Personally, I know that there's nothing out on it, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, I like any kind of quantitative data, but my perceptions on it is that really it's just to kind of help discover some of the things that they themselves do as far as part of their personality. That's kind of my bent. I mean, I think that vocation and career are very, very important parts of things, as I think education. I mean, I'm a doctor student. I'm going to be a student for forever. So, I mean, I very much value the role of education. I value the vocation, but I think that those are kind of different spheres of an individual's existence, and they are very, very important pieces to play. And so, a lot of times, let's say in some of my individual consultations, it's the focus always is remaining on how do you do things in vocation, how do you do things in academia. But that doesn't mean that you can't learn, how do I do things with my family, how do I do things with my friends, what types of things, what types of skills have I developed, what type of role models, what type of skills and strengths have I seen in some of my role models, and how can I transition them into vocation, how can I transition them into a major. So as far as the either or, I can't
It's more like who am I is the solid ground.
It is, but I think that's probably more of my bent than anything.
Well, that's all.
I'm biased.
And I think
Thank
it
you for
varies by what type of student and what the student wants out of the career assessment as well. If you're working with a first year or second year student who is maybe undecided and really wants to look at the Strengths Quest to really discover maybe what are good careers that are a good fit for them, that's an angle that you can take in that individual appointment. But maybe it's a senior who's looking at strengths and wants to know how they can use that in their professional life. So it's really about what type of appointment it is and what the student wants to get out of the assessment as well.
If they take the test of freshman year, which it sounds like many of them are doing, and they don't come to see you until their junior or senior year, do you have a copy of this, or do you think they keep that, or can you get a copy?
If they've taken it through the KACE system or through our code, we can pull it up.
Okay.
Yep. So I actually just had a student who took it his sophomore year, and he's a senior now. He came into my office, and I just pulled it right up.
Okay.
So, and you can have print copies as well, so you can print it more than once.
You have an administrative code where you can go into that, okay.
Or you can just be an aid administrator too, like KU will make you one from your personal account.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you all very much for
Yes,
your
thank
time
you
and
so
your
much.
perspective.